want to scale your business, you have to first scale yourself. If you don't address personal growth, you're working harder than you should be, and ultimately you might find that your sales career is just not very fulfilling because you look back, you sold a lot of houses, you made a lot of income, but maybe you didn't continue to grow into the person you were created to be. Real estate professionals, welcome back to season 3 of the RMG Agent Podcast. We're so grateful to have you back here. This season is going to be awesome. And as always, just hit the like, subscribe button, share with somebody you care about that you want to see excel in real estate. And this episode and this season is again sponsored by Area Pro. We love this product. We use it all the time. Go to areapro.com/RMG for a fantastic discount on something that's really going to set you apart as a real estate professional. Jake, here we are, season 3.
We are here.
We made it.
We have a title for this episode, but I'm going to refer to season 3 as the season of the mustache.
The season of the mustache. Yes, it was. We're talking about some things that the mustache goes right in alignment with.
Perfect. I just had to point it out. So if you're not watching on video, go watch us on YouTube so you can see the epic Tom Selleck mustache that Reed is sporting.
Yeah, and if you can't take me seriously, just listen to us on iTunes or Spotify.
All right. I am excited for season 3. I think this is going to be a really good season, and it's a very powerful and poignant topic for us. So this episode is welcome to season 3. And before you check out season 3, go back and watch Easy to Say, Hard to Do, which is the last episode of season 2.
Super great episode, really encouraging, really vulnerable, and I just think super helpful.
Nice. All right, so what are we talking about for season 3?
So in the first 2 seasons, we have done, I think, a really good job of laying the foundation of if you're a real estate professional, these are the conversations and these are the topics that you need to master, that you need to work on. These are the mindsets and these are the skill set, and here's the level of effort that you're gonna need. And we talked to some fantastic people, did a lot of great master series episodes in the first 2 seasons. So we were talking and kind of preparing for season 3, and I think it's time to layer in a really big topic that's going to be more than just one. In fact, it might take up all of season 3. And that is really diving into this area for real estate professionals of personal growth.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful and important topic for us to jump into. And I love the idea of having, a theme for this season.
Yeah.
So when you think of personal growth, where do you start?
So if I'm a real estate professional, there is this kind of maybe a truth or a truism, and that is that if you want to scale your business, you have to first scale yourself. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, can you point to people who have really sold a ton of houses and they're an absolute train wreck? Oh yeah, mm-hmm. Like I just have a laundry list, right, of people that like they are just tremendous at sales, right, and they sell all kinds of stuff. The challenge is if we think about this like we've talked about in the past, think of this as a career, not a year. What happens is even after year, if you do a good job in sales, if you don't attack personal growth, you're always fighting. You're like climbing up like a scree field. So if you've ever climbed in the mountains, done any hiking or any adventuring, there's this thing called scree, right? It's also another name for it is talus, and it's in the wintertime in the north. It's all the rocks that break off through hydraulic pressure, and they end up in these giant fields. And it's really hard to climb because if you're climbing up a scree or a talus field, you're hand over foot, and as you climb, the hill itself is kind of descending out from under you. And so even if you do a lot of great sales, if you don't address personal growth, you're working harder than you should be. And ultimately, you might find that your sales career is just not very fulfilling because you look back, you sold a lot of houses, you made a lot of income, but maybe you didn't continue to grow into the person you were created to be. And I think that just the heartbeat of, what we do at RMG with building wealth and wholeness with everyone we serve is this idea of we care about real estate agents, not just making a great living, but becoming who they're created to be.
Yeah, I love that. And that was where I was going to go with it, is building wealth and wholeness with everyone that we serve. And we define wealth as abundance, right?
Yeah.
And then we define wholeness as nothing broken, nothing missing. And that's really where this personal growth comes into, is like you could go a whole long career and make millions of dollars and never have any sort of fulfillment.
Yeah. And, in real estate, we're professional marketers and we're people, right? So, you don't show up to a meeting disheveled, and, the outsides don't always look like the inside. So the outsides look good and put together, and you put on a smiley face and all that stuff. And there's times and seasons, believe me, you got to do that, right? But I think it's far better as a professional to have the ability for the insides and the outsides to match up, because you're actively working on who you are and who you're becoming. So that way the outside isn't a facade, it's not an act, it's actually genuinely an expression of who you are. Over time, I think more people resonate with that. And then certainly over time, for the agent, if you're just being selfish, your life gets a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said facade, which made me think of hollow, right? Like hollowness, and you see that. I see that with a lot of very productive agents that spend all of their time focusing on production and nothing about personal growth, and they have a hollowness to them, right? Mm-hmm. They drive really fancy cars, they dress really nice, and then there's just can be nothing else after that, right?
Yeah, and it can be hard if you get into a relationship with somebody where they look the part, and then you start building a relationship, and then they start letting you see kind of what's really going on, and it can be heartbreaking, right? And we just don't want that for people, right? As much as depends on you and your ability and your desire to roll up your sleeves and say, you know what? I'm not going to just scale my business without scaling myself. Mm-hmm. I think that's the heartbeat of this season is, what are the models? What are the mindsets? What are the tools? And sometimes just the flat out heavy lifting and hard effort to where, from a leadership perspective, I would say those that are closest to you think the most of you.
Yeah.
Right? Because if there's people in this world that I'm not going to fool, it's my wife and my kids.
Right.
Like,
that's awesome.
They get to see me too often and too often at my best and too often at my worst for that hollowness to remain over time without creating consequences.
Yeah. And it kind of brings us back to why we started doing this podcast, right? Like we do it for the people listening.
We do it for the people.
We do it for the people. And ultimately, we've done a lot talking about your business and different tactical mindset, all sorts of different tools and thought processes and things that we've done. And now it's time to really retool their brains and themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so you had a really great line about who you are in your business, and I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead and lay it on me.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think that you might find to be true is that you are your biggest asset in your business, right? And it turns out that you are also the biggest challenge in your business. Mm-hmm. And these things can be hard to reconcile, but they really go along with our different strengths. So many times in life, we find that the things that we're the strongest in are the things that we're most well known for, the things that produce like substantial results for us, also have a dark side. Mm-hmm. They also have an extremity that Erwin McManus calls it the shadow, right? So here's my strength, or here's this thing I'm great at, and here's its shadow, which I think is just a really great way of looking at it. And so if I look at the vast majority of real estate businesses, they fall into the category of being self-employed, right? And when you look at the self-employed group of people across the entire world, I've actually studied this, self-employed people are by far, by a landslide, the most likely to be addicted, the most likely to be depressed, the most likely to be unhappy, compared to business owners, right? Like large business owners, compared to investors, and compared to employees. And when we look at that, we say, okay, well, there's a challenge here in this space. And of course, there's lots of challenges in this space, right? If you go to like the book, The E-Myth Revisited, where it talks about, you have the craftsman, but now they start a business, and now they're a craftsman, and they're a leader, and they're a business owner. And so the world gets infinitely more complex. So there's a lot of truth to all of that. But there's also this substantial independence that we tout in real estate that I don't think is super healthy, because I think we're created to be interdependent. And all of these things kind of line up to where in our business, we end up being our biggest asset, but we also sometimes being alone. And we also don't have things like accountability to really help us continue down our growth path. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we actually remove the pressure just through our skill set. So if I'm out there and I'm selling a ton of houses and I'm making $200,000, $250,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year, the business itself might not be putting all of this pressure on me to grow. And other people might look at me and say, oh my gosh, like you're amazing, and you get put up on a pedestal. But you're the one that knows the truth about what's going on in the inside. And so we just want to tackle that in, one of the beautiful things about a podcast is it's pretty non-threatening. Like you can listen to this and nobody's looking you in the face and saying, bro, you're hollow. Right? Yeah. So here we go.
Yeah, so I hear a couple of things. You're your biggest asset and possibly your biggest liability.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
The other thing is you're looking at the income that you produce is like your top line income of your personality. And also, what's the cost of sales to produce that is like, what's the tax that you're putting on yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And there's, I get to see a lot of P&Ls, coaching, consulting, and evaluating people's businesses. And, a lot of times people actually aren't netting as much money as they think they are, right? So that can be a shock. And then the other thing that can just be a shock is how many jobs inside of their business they're actually doing, right? So all of these things are things that like they lead up to this ability to really be behind the curve when it comes to growth. And what we don't want people to hear is go be a monk, right? Like that's the easy button. Like get rid of all of your, all of the different things you've committed to, and get rid of all your responsibilities, and now just go work on yourself. You could do that, right? Most people, that's not really the best choice. And maybe the best path is for us to come alongside through the podcast and say, hey, keep pushing, keep driving, keep climbing higher, keep crushing in sales. And let's continue to push, let's continue to move this needle when it comes to your personal growth. And I think that's going to be what we're going to focus on in season 3, is really helping people tackle growth and what we'll ultimately sometimes refer to as maturity. We don't just want to grow, but we actually want to mature as humans.
So this season, we're going to be exploring models education along with ways of your growth journey. Do you want to hint at anything that we're going to be doing?
Yeah, we're going to start, of course, with a model.
Okay.
That model is going to have a triangle attached to it, shocking to everybody, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally shocking.
Yeah. And we want to help frame maybe these mindsets that we can have through models. And sometimes it can just even be an early warning signal, right? So when we teach, like, hey, when you're experiencing this might be what's going on. So all of a sudden you step into a situation, you start experiencing something, and a little flag goes up and says, oh, I think this tells me I need to grow. Or now I'm walking into the situation, what's my first step in figuring out, is my growth right now kind of up to speed with where I want to go? So we're going to explore that and do some deep diving. And the intention of this is to build wealth and wholeness, but it's also to really help real estate agents thrive. Like, I want a real estate agent, even if the market's hard, to wake up and love what they do. And you will love what you do far more if the audio matches the video and if the inside matches the outside. It's much easier and it's a better way to live, I think.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. So I did hear that your fallback is being a monk.
Yeah. I could happily be a monk for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I would be so excited. I put on all the robes. I would just go find myself in a monastery, and then I would be so bored and wanting to go take something over that I just don't think it would work for me. Probably a blind spot.
My fallback is to be a golf course marshal.
Oh, yes.
Because it allows me to be around golf, and it also gets me to be closer to my someday goal of sitting on my porch yelling at kids.
Yes.
I get to yell at people for breaking the rules on the golf course. So that's my fallback.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, thank you for tuning in, guys. As always, we are here to impact, empower, and encourage you. And look forward to the next episode as we jump into this personal growth models and journey with you.
Awesome, guys. Welcome to season 3. Here we go.